Well, now that several newly elected members of Congress, backed by the Tea Party, are heading to Washington, will they be received well? How will they be received? Will successful Tea Party candidates be able to integrate with established members on Capitol Hill? Did they even want to? Joining us now, our political panel. President of New Frontier Strategy, Phil Mercer, and you're looking at David Mercer now. He's the former Deputy National Finance Director for the DNC. That's Phil. Welcome to you both, gentlemen.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Shannon.
All right, Phil, is too much being made of this split with the Tea Party and the establishment, or is it legitimate?
I think too much is being made of it today and some of the kind of first day in Congress stuff that's going on. But the reality is that the Republicans, the Tea Party movement has been an enormously positive burst of energy for the Republicans nationally. The most important part about the Tea Party is they had the party within our party. Had that not occurred, we probably wouldn't be in the position that we're in today from a standpoint of political power. But look, the big lesson is that, 35-plus members of this new freshman class have never held elective office. They represent average people who have average concerns about the growth and trajectory of government. And so I think that this is going to be a there's going to be a lot of talk about establishment versus Tea Party, but the bottom line is that if the Republican majority doesn't govern like they promised, there'll be a minority very quickly. And so I think the energy behind this movement will be osmosized between the establishment, quote unquote, and these new members. And you got to watch their deeds, not watch the spin.
Well, David, I've talked to a lot of folks on both sides of the aisle who say that Republican leadership is going to sort of have to keep some of them on a tight leash. The Tea Party, I'm sure they don't want to be on any kind of leash at all, but so that they don't sort of co-opt and take things to the extreme where nothing can get done on Capitol Hill. In the art of compromise, some of them say they're not about compromise. That's not what they ran on. That's not what they want to do. When you look at the fact that there's going to be a Tea Party caucus in the House, Michelle Bachmann started that up. She also was going to be in the running for a top GOP leadership position. She backed out. Does that say anything about the power of the Tea Party, the fact that she walked away from that race?
I think it speaks to what Phil said, and that you have to have a coalescing of forces. And he's right in saying that the Tea Party was very instrumental and energized in, I think, also helping the Republican Party to rebrand itself out of the Bush spending that we saw over 8 years and unaccountability on that spending. And that you're going to see, hopefully, a coalescing so that they can also negotiate with the Democratic caucus and with the President of the United States to arrive at solutions that are going to address the problems and challenges that the American middle class are facing.
I also want to ask you both about Sarah Palin. Also seems to be creating somewhat of a split within the GOP and the Tea Party folks. I mean, she is incredibly powerful out there, endorsing people, doing her thing without being currently in elective office. But there are some within the GOP who don't want her to be the front runner for 2012. She's never said she's going to run or she's not going to run. I thought some interesting new polling out from the AP, 79% favorability rating from Republicans and also from independents who say they lean to the GOP. Phil, why does she spark such a controversy within the party that she was nominated to serve on their presidential ticket?
Well, she's pretty popular within the party. I mean, the numbers you just pointed out, if that coalition showed up in 2 years, a center-right majority and an energized conservative base, and Sarah Palin was the nominee, she'd win the White House. So, is she I give her great credit. Look, I mean, this year she's made millions of dollars. She's enhanced her celebrity. She's contributed to the political outcomes of a lot of races. And tonight she's kicking off a primetime TV show. Yeah. And, these are all things that she's done from a position of control. She is in a position of control from the standpoint of talking to people through her work here at this network. She communicates outside the traditional mainstream through her social media strategy. And so now she's got a new way to rebrand herself or talk about herself. And if she can do that from a position of authenticity that made people look at her and say, maybe she's not as, extreme or crazy as I might have heard about, and that speaks to independence, this thing tonight will be a big hit for her.
All right, David, is she a plus or minus? Because we have to look at the same poll and see overall 49% unfavorability. I mean, can the Democrats capitalize on that if she becomes the face of the GOP?
I don't think we're looking to capitalize on it, but I will say she is capitalizing. We know, she's making $14 million a year, $1 million an episode on the Discovery Channel on the show that Phil just mentioned. And I think, quite honestly, she's kind of a sideshow. She was a sideshow during the McCain-Palin race for the presidency, whereby they were looking more into her credentials to be a heartbeat away from the presidency than they were looking at McCain as the nominee for president. And I think the numbers, of 22% overall favorability are quite challenging in her overcoming the perception that she might just be a sideshow and not a real true candidate for president.
Tell you, within the Republican Party, she's no sideshow. I mean, there's only one person that can turn out crowds at the base like that, and you got to take her seriously, incredibly. And she's done more to advance her position the last year, I think, than hurt it. And so, you know, she's clearly polarizes the country. The challenge for her in the next year is how does she bridge that gap if she wants to be a viable mainstream.
She's quite an expensive venture, as some have pointed out in the Republican Party, in terms of the cost it is as it was to the Senate and not gaining control of the Senate this go around for Republicans.
All right, David and Phil, thank you both. Always great to have you
Pleasure.
on the political
Thank
panel.
You, Shannon.